Critic Mark Dinning of Empire Magazine says this imaginative and intriguing anime deserves all the plaudits heaped upon it. Peter Bradshaw of The Guardian says the story has simplicity and force, with captivating images and gusty narrative ideas, recalling Kipling, Ovid, and Homer. And Susan Stark of Detroit News says, brooding, occasionally bloody, and often abstract, it explores animation's dramatic potential in wondrous ways. On this episode of Ruined Childhoods, we decide the fate of Princess Mononoke.
Sequel. Reboot. Which one will it be? It's the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
Greetings, Starfighters. Welcome to Ruined Childhoods, your favorite podcast about hypothetical remakes, reboots, sequels, prequels, spin-offs, series, books, musicals, operas, operettas, what have you. But, just the best way to revive an intellectual property.
But mostly we just like to, bullshit about movies.
Yes, and it's a good excuse to watch movies and check out some classics that we're watching, maybe for the
umpteenth time?
The umpteenth time. Yes.
There you go.
That's the number I was looking for. But yes, or for the first time. So that's what we do. I'm Dan.
I'm John.
With me as always is John.
Party on Dan. Dan.
Party on John.
Let's address the, for regular listeners of the show, the elephant in the room. We haven't released an episode in quite a while. Let's talk about it.
Yes. So when last we met, our last episode was about magic. Not just in general, but the movie starring Anthony Hopkins and Anne Margaret and directed by Richard Attenborough. Oh, also co-starring Burgess Meredith and Ed Lauter. Yes. And what a fun movie that was. So we did that episode and we were like, okay, so we've got our next episode, Princess Mononoke, that we'll be talking about today. And, okay, we're both going to go watch it, and, life happens. And, in addition to the fact that John and I are both parents of young children, and we both work full-time jobs that keep us we have a, good deal of responsibilities for those jobs. And, on top of that, let's see what else.
Dan, I was expecting you to say literally like 10 words maybe, where it's just like, life happened, you got COVID, yeah. I got a cold, you have 2 small kids, life just happens.
Since we talked about magic, yeah. COVID hit my house. My 4-month-old got COVID, and I'm pretty sure I was like patient 0 in that little outbreak. So
just a reminder to everyone else, just like, hey, it's still out there.
It's still out there, and I am vaxxed and boosted, and that still, knocked me out, and, I'm not 100%. I'm still kind of feeling the fatigue. Like I went for a little bike ride today, and all of a sudden I was like, legs, why are you so sore? This is not like you. And then they were like, that's the COVID. Damn it.
That's
I
what
thought
happened?
we were
all right.
done with that. Yeah, it was a whole thing, conversation between me and my legs. So.
But Dan, I have a question for you. While you were laid out with COVID, watch any good movies?
Yeah, so actually in the world of reboots and prequels and what have you, I watched Prey.
Oh,
excuse me. The COVID. Yeah, so I watched Prey. It was a little hard to I kept getting interrupted as I was watching it, various things going on in my house, and the baby napping in the next room to where I'm quarantined. So I'm watching a Predator movie on a fairly low volume.
Right.
And I have to say there was a lot I really liked about it. I thought it was a really, I love this new concept.
I haven't seen it yet. I got to check it out.
The basic concept, right?
No, I don't.
No?
I want to go into it knowing nothing. All I know is that it is in the Predator universe.
Then I won't get any more specific about it other than to say, it's definitely worth checking out if you enjoy the Predator movies. It's definitely one of the better ones. And I stand as a Predator 2 fan. So
you're not alone in that. A lot of people are Predator 2 fans.
Predator 2 I think has aged well.
I really liked I don't even know if it's the latest one or if another one has come out since then between that and Prey, but was there a Shane Black one?
Was that The Predator or Predators?
The Predator that came out 2018 or something like that?
That was not the one with Adrian Brody, right?
Oh, I don't think so.
Because I feel like that maybe Robert Rodriguez had something to do with that. Which one I haven't? Oh no, sorry, that's Alien. You know which one I haven't seen? Alien Covenant, which is in a different franchise.
Yeah, it is. 2018 there was The Predator.
I think I saw that
with Keegan-Michael Key, directed by Shane Black. Olivia Munn is in it. Sterling K. Brown, Thomas Jane, Alfie Allen. Yeah, I liked that one.
And Fred Decker was involved.
I know, written by
Fred
Decker. Yes,
the Monster Squad team.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. I'm a fan of that one. I liked that one. I don't know if that one was super critically acclaimed, but it did it for me.
Yeah. No,
I love Shane Black.
Yeah, absolutely. And Shane Black, he was a really good choice to do a Predator movie. And
actor in the first Predator movie.
Yes. Good point. Call back to our Predator episode. In the archives.
Did we do a Predator episode?
We did not do a Predator episode. I don't know why I said that we did.
Call back to a future episode.
I know. For some reason in my mind, we had done a Predator episode, but no, we haven't. Anyway, I enjoyed Prey. I binged an entire season of Only Murders in the Building.
Oh.
So got into that, and that was the right level of what I could handle.
Sure.
Once I could, my first real full day with it, I just all I wanted to do was sleep. But then day 2, I was I want to be charmed and entertained by the trio of Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez, who
they're great together.
Rounds out that trio in a unexpectedly perfect way. I think
she absolutely does. I've finished the second season recently, which it finished itself, so I was there along the way with them. And it's the second season. I felt like it took a few episodes for it to kind of get a few things out of its system, and then really just kind of key into what it should be doing. And I wouldn't say that it necessarily has the same impact as the first one, but it definitely is fascinating. There's a lot of great, side characters from the building that you get to know a little bit better. And, it's fun. It doesn't make you do a lot of work. You just kind of get to sit back and enjoy the, I don't know, what Steve Martin and Martin Short want to bring to you. And then you have Selena Gomez as the person who grounds them, which is really delightful.
It's very charming with an edge. And there are definitely some episodes that are kind of depart from the more whimsical tone of the...
Well, in the first season, there's the one that's entirely subtitles because it's, you know, through the lens of the deaf character.
Right. Yeah. And then actually it was the second episode of the second season that I just thought tonally it was interesting to me because I felt it recalled some of Steve Martin's stuff, like LA Story, which has a lot of like very like kind of bizarre humor in it, but also has this like weight and this depth to that movie. So, which that's another one, maybe another future episode that we can call back to.
Sure. And also, call back to the future. So we also need to talk about the trailer that just dropped for Confess Fletch.
Yes.
Which introduces us to John Hamm as Fletch.
And John Slattery as his ever-suffering like editor for the newspaper. He's taken over for Richard
The
Libertini.
two of them together, it's great. It works. We love it.
John Hamm like nails it. He's not. I feel like, at least from the trailer, he nails the tone that really made like the original Fletch movie, and I imagine the novels, because I haven't read any, kind of makes the character stand out, and it's his signature humor. And I feel like John Hamm nails it without doing Chevy Chase.
Right. No, absolutely.
He does his own thing with the character, but I feel like it's true to the character.
No, I think that it made me a little bit even more excited to see it, because it's just like, doing its own thing. It doesn't seem like it's trying to erase the past. I mean, it is a reboot in the sense of like, you know, we are introduced to this character as, you know, a fresh new person, to my understanding, but it's not I don't know.
Right. It's not part of the original like lineage. It's not the like not canon together, I guess. I feel like it's more of like a readaptation of the novels, even though they're adapting a different novel than they did when they made Fletch.
Right. Yeah, so I'm excited about it, but
likewise.
Yeah, you know, Dan, we have a lot of ground to cover with Princess Mononoke.
Oh, we sure do. Like a worm,
much like Ashitaka,
demon warthog trampling through the forests.
Yeah. So,
Japan.
Dan, can you tell me a little bit about what your viewing experience was like for Princess Mononoke?
You know, for aforementioned reasons, it's pretty challenging for me to sit and watch a movie beginning to end in one sitting. So I watched some of it while I was folding laundry. I watched some of it.
I don't understand how you could watch this movie while doing other things.
Well, it was kind of that or not watch the movie.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was a last resort. So, yeah. And okay, here's the thing. I'm gonna piss off people, but animation is sometimes really tough for me to really engage with.
Really? Across the board?
Yeah, I mean, like, there are definitely exceptions to the rule. Like, The Lion King was, you know, an animated film that I loved and love to this day. You know, the South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut is one of my favorite movies. And although it's kind of like, you know what you're getting there. But you know, it's like, I don't know. I just usually, it's harder for me to engage with animated films. And
I wonder what it is.
What's also interesting is I watched this movie, so depending on where I watched it, the default on the Roku was the dubbed version with like Claire Danes and Billy Crudup and like all these actors. And when it was that, it really like it took me out of it because
really?
It kept taking me out of it because like I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this voice. I'm like, oh, who is that? And rather than like being focused on the movie, I'm like, who is that? Is that? And the next thing I'm on IMDb, I'm oh fuck, Billy Bob Thornton. God damn it! Oh man, how did I not? How did I not
Billy
know
Bob
that?
Thornton didn't really do anything to change his voice at all.
No. I mean, but like I also would have heard like Claire Danes and been like, I know that voice. And
okay,
like
so
Billy
you're trying
Crudup,
to
but anyway, but then if I watched it on the Apple TV, a same app, HBO Max, it defaulted to Japanese, and which I prefer to watch it in the original Japanese. Something I forgot to say about Prey is if you're going to watch it on Hulu, there is an option to watch it in, I want to say Cherokee.
It's Comanche.
Oh, Comanche. So, apologies. But I didn't realize that until after when like I finished watching it and it was like, here are other recommended titles. And it's like, and I was like, oh, damn it. Like I would have watched that. Like, and that would have been wonderful. But so it was interesting to watch Princess Mononoke in both the original Japanese and then this English dubbed version with all of these familiar voices.
So what surprises me is that knowing that the English translation was scripted by Neil Gaiman, I thought that you would have been maybe more prone to be excited about the English language version. Not to say that there's any reason not to watch the subtitled Japanese original version, but since I know you're a Neil Gaiman fan, I thought that you would have been drawn. I don't know if you knew that.
Pun intended.
Well, no, but let's go on. But I don't know. I thought that maybe that would have been something that would be appealing to you.
I did not realize that it was. Oh. And it wasn't the like that was, and I don't know. I just usually default to like, I want to hear the original performances. I want to hear. Yeah. Like that's what I want to hear. And I prefer that. But like also, because I was doing other things, sometimes it just made more sense for me to have on the dubbed version. And and I figured, even though I didn't realize it was Neil Gaiman, I was like, I'm sure like, this has been adapted by, someone who's, who's more than capable.
Sure. And there's something else that I want to mention about the English language dubbed versions is that I feel like the Studio Ghibli, and by the way, we have decided to go with the pronunciation Ghibli. That is the way that Miyazaki pronounces it, so we are going to be saying Studio Ghibli. So Studio Ghibli, the dubbed versions of their films, for the most part, it's kind of like a big deal for an actor to be chosen to voice the English language version of these characters. It's not every movie that comes out of Japan, animated movie that comes out of Japan or any other country for that matter, where you get like this high of a pedigree of acting talent, and it's for a reason. These films, the Studio Ghibli films, are so highly regarded. And for good reason. Dan, I know that this was your first Studio Ghibli movie, which I think in a lot of ways is a really good entry, but in a lot of other ways, it's like you could have started at a much more basic place because this one is really heavy. This one has people's heads getting torn off by, arrows, whereas there are ones like My Neighbor Totoro or Ponyo or Kiki's Delivery Service that are much more delicate. And this one is a story about the battle between humans and nature, and the same thing kind of is the same meaning is kind of taken from like My Neighbor Totoro, but in a much more delicate way. Whereas this one, you get it all.
Oh yeah, no, this is like one of the things that really struck me about this, and also just to speak to your point about the casting for this. I mean, this is like for 1997. Like, yeah, this
Okay.
is a.
Let's run through.
This is an A grade cast, like at any point, but like at this point, like. Billy Bob Thornton, this was like what, a year after Sling Blade.
Yeah, so here's how I think I want to do this one. Dan, I want to do this one a little bit differently. Because this is such a dense story, I didn't want to risk getting something wrong or misrepresenting something, because there were a lot of things that I read online, synopses where I read them and I'm just like, I don't feel like that's accurate. But there's a Studio Ghibli wiki, and I am going to read the synopsis, and it's like more of a breakdown from that. And what I'd like to do is kind of, take a breath at certain moments for us to kind of discuss what we've seen up until that point. And before I do that, I'll go down the cast list. Ashitaka, who's the main character, is voiced, and we're gonna go with I'm only gonna say the English voice cast because this is an English language podcast. So if this was a Japanese language podcast, perhaps I would be going more into the Japanese cast. Or if this was a podcast that talked more about the films of Japan, then I would probably be more likely to do that. But Ashitaka, we've got Billy Crudup. Jigo is Billy Bob Thornton. As San, we have Claire Danes. Lady Abashi is Minnie Driver. Toki is Jada Pinkett Smith. Moro is Gillian Anderson. Akoto is Keith David. Gonza, John DiMaggio, who people would know as, voiced like Bender and Futurama and like 1,000 other animated characters. So it's that high a pedigree of, your late 90s talents. I mean, doesn't get much better than this crew at that time.
I mean, the first voice you hear is Keith David, which is like so.
Oh yeah,
it's so familiar to hear. Yeah. Like just the voiceover at the beginning, and it's Keith David, and it's just like, that's fantastic.
All right, so I'm going to begin kind of the rundown. Princess Mononoke follows the journey of the last Amishi prince, Ashitaka, and his attempts to make peace between the human settlement, Irontown, and the creatures living in the forest that surrounds it. That's the one sentence full-on synopsis, but that does not do this film any justice at all, because it is bananas with a capital BANANAS.
Well, yeah, I mean, because there's a whole other, there's all of these barely underlying themes that carry through. It's a very, dare I say it, especially for 1997, woke film. I mean, a lot of the messages in it are very, they're common themes now, especially, in terms of progressive media and storytelling. So,
yeah.
It's very anti-gun.
Well, yeah.
Very pro-environment.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
All right. You ready, Dan? To
I'm
really
ready.
begin?
Yeah.
This
let's
film
go.
begins with Ashitaka saving his village from a vicious assault by killing a demon who is actually the giant boar god Nago, embodied by rage. During the fight, Ashitaka receives a demon mark on his right arm, and he is cursed by the boar god's hatred and pain. Ashitaka is told that the mark will spread throughout his body, killing him. A ball of iron is found inside Nago's corpse, which is somehow connected to the curse. Yeah, that's pretty gnarly. The way that this the demon, it's kind of like these globby worm things that form around this boar, and
Yeah.
oh my god, when you hear that boar, dying, and the boar god dying, it is chilling.
It's chilling, but I'm looking at my notes, and so speaking of Lion King, when I didn't know what else to call it, I just was referring to it as Pumbaa.
Oh, well, yeah. When
I'm like,
I was a young warthog.
Well, well, I'm like, well, my notes were first. It's a pasta rodent. It's a warthog coated in worms. It's a demonic koosh ball.
A demonic koosh ball.
But like
Rosie O'Donnell flinging it into hell.
It's very 1997.
Yeah.
Yeah, spot on. So, but yeah, like the fact that it's a musket ball that causes this like creature to become evil and to just be like to rot with evil. And I was like, oh, because it got shot.
Yes.
And yeah, so and then when you meet the
we're gonna keep on chugging ahead. But at this point, we just know that it's a lump of iron. We haven't seen a gun. We don't know anything yet. So Ashitaka resolves to journey to Nago's origin, the lands to the west, to try and find a cure for his curse. He cuts his hair, signifying his permanent departure from his village, and rides out with Yakul, his local red elk. Since it was considered taboo to see off one who's banished, blah, 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 blah. So Kaya gives him a crystal dagger so that he would not forget her. That's, I guess, his bride-to-be, so this says. The forest spirit reveals itself to Ashitaka. Having traveled some distance, Ashitaka arrives in a forest full of animal gods, including the wolf god Moro. Also in the forest is the forest spirit, described as a god of life and death, which takes the form of a deer during the day and a large shadowy night walker at night. The forest lies beside a human settlement called Irontown, which continually clears the forest to get more iron ore, causing many battles as the animals attempt to protect their diminishing forest. It was during one of these battles that Irontown's leader, Lady Eboshi, shot Nago. So that's where we kind of discover that. But I also want to point out that this is also when we see that the infected arm that he has gives him this kind of like superhuman strength when it is like activated. And Dan, this is one thing that kind of confused me a little bit. I'm pretty sure, I'm no archer, but I'm pretty sure that your physical strength cannot change the way that an arrow can, the force of an arrow. That's all up to the bow. I don't think that you can yourself with your own physical strength change the force of an arrow.
I don't know if I agree with you there, John.
Really?
Yeah, well, because I would imagine that if you have more strength, especially in your arms, your chest, your back, you're going to have better control of the bow and...
but that's accuracy.
Well, no, but that's also velocity because you're not shaking, you're not wobbly, and you can focus on your target. You can hold that... You can pull the string, whatever, back, and like you can pull it back farther, like if you're stronger. But yeah, I mean, the bow has to be a strong bow. Like you can't if you have a shitty bow, excuse me, COVID. It doesn't matter how strong you you know you are, because you'll just break the bow.
Right.
But I would say,
But to make a dude's head get ripped off of his body, or to slice somebody's arm in half, that seems a little out there.
So Kevin Costner in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves splits an arrow with his arrow, and I mean, okay, I wouldn't. He was not like the most physically strong person. That's accuracy. Yeah, but you also, I mean, you have to shoot that thing pretty hard if you're gonna split an arrow down the middle in twain, as they say in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Right. That's true. Anyway, that part of it got me questioning a little bit. Like,
look,
could that really?
If you know more than we do about such things, and you probably do, please email us at ruinedchildhoodspod@gmail.com and teach us a thing or two about what, if anything, strength has to do with the velocity with which one shoots an arrow.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, yes, we have discovered now that Lady Eboshi, voiced by Minnie Driver, shot Nago, and that is the inciting incident that kind of creates this chain of events. And yeah, you have it's Irontown. They're mining for iron ore. This is industry versus nature. It is no bueno.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I actually see this in here. Well, I'll read this one more bit, and then let's see if I need to address this. During the film, Ashitaka travels between the forest and Irontown several times trying to make peace. During Ashitaka's first visit, the village is attacked by San, a human girl who has been adopted by the wolves. Ashitaka intervenes to stop the two sides fighting and takes San back to the forest, but is injured in the process. With San's intervention, he is healed of his wounds, but not his curse, by the forest spirit. Okay, so one thing that I did want to talk about is that Irontown isn't just an evil place that is destroying, the forest and everything. Like, they take in lepers, and they, I'd say that in a lot of ways it's also very progressive in the way that, like, the women are doing the work. Granted, they could maybe be given some comfortable clothes to wear instead of just like loosely fit robes, but the men are there to defend the city, and the women are there doing the work.
Well, and they're also like Lady Eboshi is in charge. So
yeah,
and
absolutely.
Right, you're right. There's a lot. I mean, that was something else that I thought was really like skillfully done, is that it's not just one-sided. Like, even though I felt like this was very much on the side of conservation and I guess anti-gun, I did feel like they showed the opportunities that this provided. And Irontown is kind of that, like, it's like from a Western.
Yeah. And something that also this doesn't bring up is that we have now been introduced to Jigo, which is Billy Bob Thornton's character, who is just kind of like a villager, but you can tell that he's, kind of a slime ball. And Ashitaka has kind of pseudo befriended him. I don't know. Like, he kind of travels with Ashitaka a little bit, but you're definitely skeptical of him the entire time. You're just not too sure about him. He seems like kind of an unsavory dude. So anyway, soon enough, Morrow and her pups approach, and they find an army of boars have come to save the forest and stop the humans. They become angry by the fact that Ashitaka was saved, but Nago wasn't. Morrow tells them that Nago was so blinded with rage that he fled. Ashitaka then tells them that he killed Nago because he attacked his village, and after he received his mark, he came to this forest to be healed, and while his wound was healed, his mark remained, and soon the mark will kill him. I don't know if there's much more to comment on there. Shrug. Okay. Seconds
That's
later,
what
the boar
happens.
god, Lord Akoto. And Lord Akoto is, that's Keith David. So
yes.
Lord Akoto has come, and Ashitaka tells him that what he said was the truth. Lord Akoto believes Ashitaka is sad, but a sad Nago has become a demon and tells Ashitaka to leave and will have to kill him if he does return. Before he leaves, Moro tries to warn Akoto that he will be killed if he fights the humans, but he refuses to back down, saying that even if every last of them dies, it'll be a battle no one will forget. Well, that's true, as we'll see. Under the influence of Jigo, Eboshi sets out to destroy the forest spirit. The head of the forest spirit is believed to grant immortality. Jigo plans to give the head to the Emperor. In return, the Emperor promises to give Irontown legal protection against the envious daimyos coveting the town's prosperity. Eboshi, however, suspects, rightly, that the Emperor's agents are also assigned to take control of Irontown at the most opportune moment. See, this is dense. I could not have written this out in a way that makes much more sense than this. A week later, Ashitaka wakes up in Maro's den, and it turns out San has been nursing him. He and Maro have a talk where Ashitaka says he wants the forest and humans to be at peace, but Maro tells him, and by the way, Maro is Gillian Anderson. Yeah. Maro tells him that with the battle tomorrow, that won't be possible. They then have a heated conversation, and Maro soon tells Ashitaka how she found San. Before going back inside, she too warns that Ashitaka that if he returns, she would kill him. The next day, he leaves and gives one of the wolves the crystal dagger for San. Meanwhile, the army is starting to lure the boars out of the forest, and since Akoto is blind, San tells her mother that she must help him. Moro agrees and tells San Ashitaka cares for her. Right then, the other pup comes with the crystal dagger, which she is in awe with. Ashitaka soon sees that the samurai have indeed taken control of Irontown, and they need the men's help. Ashitaka goes to get them. While running, Yakul is shot, and while he does tell Yakul to stay put, Ashitaka finally lets him come. Yakul is a really loyal companion animal.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
You could tell they have like a pretty cool thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. He soon finds out
get
that the
each
Battle of the Boars was a nightmare. They were put in front to lure the boars out and make the matters worse. Jigo's men didn't tell them about the mines they dropped. As a result, the entire boar army was wiped out. They soon find a wolf caught under the boar's body, and when Ashitaka tries to save the wolf, poison darts are fired. Thankfully, the men from Irontown help them free the wolf, and Ashitaka goes to find San and Lady Eboshi. What this doesn't say is that the boars are actually the men wearing the boar's skin.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good. I'm like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I'm remembering this accurately.
Yes, absolutely. Despite Ashitaka's efforts, Eboshi succeeds in cutting off the forest spirit's head while it is transforming. And by the way, the head doesn't get cut off. The head gets shot off. Doesn't it?
Right. I thought
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty important detail. Anyway, Jigo collects the head while the body is transformed into a god of death. As a result, the land becomes covered with a lethal black ooze that completely destroys the forest and turns the land barren. To stop the spreading ooze from reaching the villagers, Ashitaka and San manage to take the head from Jigo, and by returning the head to the forest spirit, the land becomes green again, and Ashitaka's curse is finally lifted. Even though San and Ashitaka have grown close, they go their separate ways, to the forest and to Irontown respectively. However, Ashitaka promises to visit San in the forest whenever he can. Meanwhile, Lady Eboshi realizes that there is kindness in San and decides to rebuild the town, but a better, kinder one. Ugh.
You know who they reminded me of? San and Ashitaki, their relationship reminded me of
Ashitaka.
John. What's that?
Ashitaka.
Sorry. Reminded me of Jon Snow and the Egret, like the wildling who Jon Snow has the affair with, and who the actors are actually married, IRL. And Like the whole like because I was just waiting for Sansa. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because I mean I definitely respect that like they don't get together at the end and like save everybody, animals and trees and people as a couple. They go off and do their things, and it's like
Right.
San, voiced by Claire Danes, like she has got her own thing going on. She does not consider herself human. She considers herself a wolf, and that's that. Like she has no business being with Ashitaka. She respects him now, and she doesn't just see all humans as evil. That's for sure. But
Right. No, she's got bigger things going on.
yeah, I'd say.
She doesn't have time.
But I understand, Dan, that animated films don't necessarily do it for you, but I gotta say, like, some of the visuals in this were really stunning. The way, I know that there was some CGI used in this, but like the way that they would show certain things was like really striking. And since this for me was the first, I saw some of Spirited Away. I only saw the beginning of it because I was watching it with my kid and she was not ready for that movie. Not my decision to turn it on, but it was certainly my call to turn it off. But I was aware that these movies could get really dark and intense, but
Right.
I was used to seeing the more like, I guess, family friendly, for lack of a better term. Totoro, exactly.
I've. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I would say which is still like a stunning film, and there's some beautiful animation in it. But there was some stuff in Princess Mononoke that I was just like, oh my God, that's stunning.
Oh, well, one of my other reactions to it was like, man, I would love to see this in a theater. And
Yeah.
of course, I could have had an opportunity. There were some 25th anniversary screenings. I don't know if any of those happened around Seattle where I live, but just this past summer, it was screened at New York City's Japan Society.
Uh-huh.
So it's 35 millimeter screening. And
Yeah.
I think it also had a limited re-release back in April. But there was I had another observation.
Well, while you're trying to
about
think
it.
of that, I'll just let you know, like,
Yes.
there's, it's very common for like repertory theaters to do Studio Ghibli like retrospectives and just like show all of the films like in chronological order. Like that happens all the time if you're paying attention.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And that's something that after watching this, I would possibly do. But, oh yeah, my anecdote about My Neighbor Totoro, not that I've seen it, but, so that came out on, VHS and I suppose DVD, when I was working at West Coast Video.
Oh.
In Westfield, New Jersey. And, my assistant manager used to call it My Neighbor John Turturro, and we just would like speculate like what would that film be like, and like
Well, My Neighbor Totoro, it came out in 88, but I think that they did the English language version.
It might have been a 10-year because 98 would have been when I was working there.
Totoro, I'm just looking it up. The English version was, oh no, they must have done it a couple of times maybe, because I know that it was the cast was Dakota Fanning and Elle Fanning, Tim Daly. So that was 2005.
I mean, this would have been pre-Fanning.
Yeah, I was going to say, because, well, this is 2005. There was another version from 93 with Lisa Mickelson, Cheryl Chase, Greg Snegoff, Alexandra Kenworthy.
It might have been that. It might not have just come out, but it might have been something that we just had on the shelves. I don't know. I know this happened.
Oh, hey, I believe you. It was 1989/93. So I don't know if it just was made in 89, came out in 83, or 93. But anyway, the Dakota Fanning, Elle Fanning, Tim Daly version is the version that I saw, and it's charming. It's really delightful. It's whimsical. It's beautiful. There's some really great animation in it. There's some really fun little characters that come up in it. And what do you see?
There was a VHS reissue on June 27th, 1997. That would fit in that timeline. So
sure, and I wonder,
mystery solved.
Yeah, and I wonder if that was maybe done with, because of Princess Mononoke, to commemorate the origins of Studio Ghibli in some way. But
give it a little push.
Yeah,
that
sure.
would make sense.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
But Dan, I'm sorry to hear that, that animation is not your jam. I've known you for almost 40 years. How do I not know this?
But because it's not always the case. There's some like I said before, other animated films that how do you feel about stop motion? Well, you know what? I was just gonna say, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Okay,
is a movie I enjoy. Anomalisa.
We've talked about Anomalisa a bunch.
Yeah, that's a film that I really. I'll say I enjoyed it. It's really, interesting.
It's not really a movie to enjoy. Yeah.
Right. No. I'm not inviting, the neighbors over, like, putting it on in the backyard. Oh yeah, no. Yeah, we're going to pop open a keg and watch Anomalisa.
Well, I'd say that every 6 months or so, I just do my own personal viewing of all like David Thewlis movies. And it's just like,
nice.
You have to. I skip the Harry Potters though.
Do you not pick? You don't just do like one of the Harry Potters?
No.
Those kind of stand on their own.
They're not like true Thewlis. I mean, definitely the Big Lebowski. Get him going in there. That's kind of like where you start with it.
Okay, do you do like Naked? Mike Lee?
What's that?
The Mike Lee film Naked?
Oh, sorry.
David Thewlis?
Sure, yeah,
do you do
absolutely.
The Island of Dr. Moreau?
Oh my God, of course, Island of Dr. Moreau.
Nice. Yeah, so, all right, cool.
So Dan, like, I don't know, does this make you interested to see other Studio Ghibli movies?
Yes. I'd be definitely more interested if they were doing like a retrospective, which they would sometimes do at our local theater. I want to say at some point, since I've lived in this area, our local theater has had like a Studio Ghibli like animation fest, and like that would be a fun thing. I would love to like take my daughter, see if I could convince her. She's a tough sell on some things, but like I would love to go see these movies in a theater. It's also less likely going to be folding laundry in those circumstances.
Okay,
but yeah,
how funny would it be for there to be a theater that replicates the at-home experience, where you're just like, it just gives you a laundry basket just full of clothes to fold. Every now and then a phone will ring.
That's random people knocking on the door. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there like construction outside?
Yes. It's just the sounds of construction outside.
Oh, so fabulous. Yeah, I definitely would pay for that. So,
yeah.
IMAX.
So, yeah, Dan, I would definitely encourage you to watch some other Studio Ghibli movies. I mean, a lot of them are much easier watches than this. I would certainly recommend My Neighbor Totoro. I think that's a perfect one to enjoy. See, the thing is with, your daughter, I don't think that she would maybe enjoy some of those ones as much, because I feel like she would think that they might be too much for littler kids. It's hard to say. But I don't know if she's ready for something like Spirited Away.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Like, she's not the type of kid who you can just be like, all right, here's what we're doing. We're watching this. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe someday, like, she's 8. So,
Yeah.
Maybe when she's 10, she might be a little bit more interested, or maybe not.
Let her do her own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, so that's what I'd like to do that. I was thinking though, like, it would be interesting because really, how do you you're not going to do a remake. I feel like you're not going to do a sequel, because that just kind of like it. I feel like it diminishes the value of it. I'd be interested to see like a stage adaptation.
Oh yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, because I think about what someone, and it comes back to The Lion King, because I think about what someone like Julie Taymor did with The Lion King, and using puppetry and really creating a world where you believed it, and you're like, yes, those are gazelles sprinting across the plain. So I don't know that I'm not saying I want to see Julie Taymor does Princess Mononoke, but I feel like you've got a lot of really creative minds out there working in theater, and I honestly, I'd be shocked if it hasn't already been done. Maybe not with this film, maybe with another Studio Ghibli film, but I think it would be really interesting to see a stage version of of this. I don't know if that's how I'll feel about any of the others, but I thought to myself, it's like, that could potentially be really cool.
Okay.
A really cool experience. So that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, Dan, I don't know if I don't know this is necessarily what I would like to see, but if something had to be done, I think it would be really cool if there was a remake of this that was, made with all Japanese actors, Japanese director, live action, and including the animation style of Miyazaki being represented in the CG that would be necessary to make some of these things happen. Because I think that there's a lot in the style that can be done in a new way that doesn't feel like it's trying to be hyper realistic, but that's not trying to be just like, Studio Ghibli animation over live action film. Not that I have the exact answer on on how that would go exactly, but just like thinking about those kind of like the koosh ball. I think that there'd be a really fascinating way to make that happen with CG that doesn't necessarily need to look hyper realistic.
Well, and I mean, it would be interesting to see what, like, I mean, it's like, man, what would Jim Henson have done? I'm like, I don't want to see Henson Studios. I'm like, I want to see what Jim Henson would have done. Yeah. But also, I'm thinking about your idea, and it makes me think of Spike Jonze's adaptation of Where the Wild Things Are.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, like, is that kind of along the lines of, because I feel like that was very indebted to the style of Maurice Sendak.
Sure, because and you can do that with big suits and CGI combination and stuff like that. Because for that one, that's all about capturing the vision of a child's imagination, which of course
Right.
has James Gandolfini's voice.
Well, I mean, come on. Don't all kids imagine James Gandolfini as one of their, like, imaginary friends?
Yeah.
Like, come on, who doesn't?
Yeah.
It's like how every kid imagines that someday Robert Loggia is gonna step into their kitchen and sell
Maybe
them on
you.
Minute Maid orange juice.
Yeah, that's right. Weird.
The kids that is the best commercial because of how this, like, 8-year-old kid reacts. He is so starstruck when Robert Loggia, like, dressed in an all black suit, like he just came from killing someone, like, walks in and he's like, "This is some fucking great orange juice, kid."
You have to imagine that there was a mistake in like the casting office, or like somebody, they had to film it that day, and like I don't know, like Michael J. Fox got sick, and they were just like, quick, who do we get? Like, who's the first person we can get here? And someone's just like, I got Robert Loggia on the phone. I don't care. Fine.
45 miles away, I'll be there in 15 minutes.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
He drives like Mr. Eddie in Lost Highway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's what I was thinking, because I feel like I would really enjoy seeing this done, just to see what somebody would do with this. And I feel like we're at a point in filmmaking where it's like, you can create these like gigantic, immense worlds, and where it just looks like there's barely any civilization, and we can create these kind of like large wolves and boars and stuff like that don't look super cheesy. And I mean, I feel like
Holy
these all
shit.
have
What
like
if
a particular.
What if George Miller did it?
George Miller, I think, would be great if he was Japanese. I do feel like it needs to be a Japanese director.
Well, and I mean, yeah, I'm sure that there are definitely Japanese filmmakers who would perhaps love to take a stab at something like this and would have a vision for it. So
sure, yeah,
sounds.
But I just really want to learn about the dynamics of the bow and arrow, and like if like the strength of an anger demon can really rip somebody's head off in that way.
Yes, please. I think like we need to know.
But also,
John says
it's like,
no. I say yes.
But also, it's like, I feel like even if strength was an aspect, the arrow would just not get stuck in the person. It would just go right through them. It wouldn't make their head fall off. An arrow doesn't expand when it enters, the skin. You don't have to try to defend this, Dan. You can get on board with what I'm saying. I know you're trying really hard to think of a way.
I want to believe it. I just want to believe. I want to believe that if you're strong enough, you could tear someone's head off with an arrow.
Well, since Gillian Anderson was a voice in this, and you do want to believe, I guess I'll just have to let it happen. So, Dan, do you want to tell everybody what we're doing on our next episode of Ruined Childhoods, whenever that might come out?
Yes. So at some point, at an undisclosed point in the future, we will be discussing the 1983 John Badham movie WarGames, starring Matthew Broderick, Dabney Coleman.
Dabney Coleman. Is this
Dabney
our first
Coleman?
Is this our first Coleman?
It is our first dab of the Dabney?
Yeah.
dab of the knee, if you will.
Okay.
I believe so. Hopefully our first of many.
Love Dabney Coleman.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking about WarGames, which is fun. It'll be celebrating its 40th anniversary next year. It turns 40 next year, just like you.
That's right. I share a birth year with WarGames.
That's right. Well, you came out approximately 2 months before WarGames, so
maybe I saw it in the theater.
Maybe that was your first movie.
Yeah, right.
Pretty sure it was Follow That Bird. So, all right.
That's what we have on record, but you can't trust those things.
Unofficially, it could be WarGames, but I'm excited. It's been a long time since I've seen it. So I'm looking forward to checking it out and talking about what can you do with WarGames.
Well, Dan, as you are trying to outrun Jigo and take back the head of the forest spirit, I wish you a good journey.
Why, good journey to you.